Hi, friends, and welcome to All the Things TV with me, Tiffany Jo Baker, where our heart is to help you grip God's grace, use your gifts, and get your goals, even in your mess and mission. Join us now for this episode of Season 2 of the podcast, where we talk about different areas that we may be on the struggle bus, so you can struggle less and succeed more and do all the things you've been called and created to do. Hello, y'all. We are back with All the Things TV with Tiffany Jo Baker. And today we're going to be talking about a real life struggle. So I know you have heard about how we need to be eating organic foods, homeopathic medicines, skincare, and home products that don't have toxins or chemicals, and all those things. But I also know that you're a busy woman on a budget. So today we're going to be diving into the holistic health care struggle. And I brought one of my friends and one of my favorite healthcare team members, Dr. Courtney Kahla, here today to just share a little bit about what we do in our appointments and a little bit about what she's learned along her journey as being a doctor of chiropractic, as well as the founder of our Well House. Dr. Courtney, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me here, Tiffany.
Y'all, she has been a blessing. So about almost coming up on a year now, I was having some issues in this 43-year-old body. I Googled gentle Christian chiropractor in Frisco, Texas, and our Well House popped up. Dr. Courtney's face, that smile, and literally, I think you started I know you've been in practice for a long time, but started the new practice here in Frisco, Texas, within a few weeks of me Googling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's rare. Most people, will find me through Instagram, which I love, but you're like, no, I just Googled you. And I'm like, what?
Y'all, we're outside the box. And when you're 40 something, we Google. And so that's how that works. So this is what I started doing at our weekly appointments. And I started just because Dr. Courtney, not just as a doctor of chiropractic, but she's very much into holistic healthcare. She's very much helps with pediatrics, fertility, and just family health and wellness from a holistic perspective. And so I like to pick her brain every time I go for an appointment, and I come up with one question about skincare, healthcare, health, wellness, all the things, just to see what she has to say about it and what she's found in her practice and in her life that she's using. So I want to share just a few questions that I ask her on a weekly basis and share that awesome information with y'all. But before I do, I found a statistic about skincare and about the products that we're using. And they say that the average American woman uses 12 skincare products, totaling about 168 chemicals that we're putting on our skin every day, which is what the largest human organ is.
The largest organ, yeah.
So it's really important what we're putting in, what we're putting on. And like I started this episode, organic food, our skincare products, cosmetics, even what we're cleaning with, that all plays a role in holistic health. If one of our things are off, the rest of our things are off. So, Dr. Courtney, if somebody, a busy woman on a budget, is starting from scratch, getting into this because they know something needs to change, what would you say to them if they're just starting from scratch? What should they do?
Well, what I really love is that Tiffany's taken this approach of health in bite-sized pieces, right? And so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to ask 20 questions in one day. It's no, we're just going to take this 1 week at a time. This week, let's talk about toothpaste, and that's really how I encourage people to approach that transition into holistic health and natural living with that kind of intention, because otherwise it can be very overwhelming. You do not have to clean out everything underneath your sink and replace it with all new stuff and spend thousands of dollars. Now, if you have the means to do that, then heck yeah, do it. But I sure didn't. It was just one product at a time. So when I like to look at making changes that have the biggest impact, It's really the things that we're using the most consistently. So I think a great starting place would be, what are we putting in our body, right? And so that's a great starting place with, let's examine the foods that we're eating. Let's examine the water that we're drinking. Now, what's hard is that those can be bigger ticket items. So at least if we're aware of that, but if it's not within our budget, then it's like, okay, that's just something that we'll get to when we have the means to be able to get to it. Maybe let's look at some of the smaller ticket items, but things that we're still using every day. I think fragrance is one of the worst chemicals. And so fragrance, actually the term, so if you read an ingredient label and it lists fragrance, that's actually an all-encompassing term for like thousands of different chemicals, and they don't have to disclose what those chemicals are. So if you see fragrance on a label, just ditch it. I mean, most laundry detergent, that's kind of where I was leading with the fragrance thing, is something that you're using. It's on your clothes every day. It's something that you're smelling within your home. And if you don't think those chemicals are strong, have you ever walked down the grocery store aisle with all the completely sealed containers of laundry detergent and you can still smell them, right? You're like, yeah, I can catch the ocean breeze. So that tells you how powerful those products are when they're in your home and unsealed. When you've opened the lid, that those fumes are still affecting you. So laundry detergent is a great transition, and one that is a little bit easier on the bank account. And then just continue to examine those things you're using every day. So I think toothpaste is another great one. That's something you're using every day. That what goes on your skin, that's something you're using every single day. And it can be very easy to get overwhelmed by all the different brands, and especially the popular ones, but there are some unpopular ones that work just as effective.
I love that. And I do love bite-sized approaches, because we can get overwhelmed. We're starting at ground zero, or we're starting as, an infant in this world of organics and clean living. And we see that big gap between where we are and where we need to be. And we can either just give up or get overwhelmed. But we just need to do that next small thing that we can do, that we do have control over. And something else that I found when I was studying this before we hopped on here is that the FDA, when it comes to skincare and healthcare, or skincare products and cosmetics, they're not regulating what's in it. They leave it to the manufacturers to do what's right by us. And so that's kind of scary. And I found that a lot of the chemicals that are in American products are banned in the Eastern Union and different other countries that were out. That's kind of scary.
It's bizarre to really look at two of the exact same product from the same manufacturer. So like Heinz ketchup, for example. If you look at the American ingredient label, it contains high fructose corn syrup. If you look at the European ingredient label, there's no high fructose corn syrup. There's cane sugar. So it's like, why are we getting the cheaper version of these things? And then you can ask the Europeans how they feel about Americans, and they're like, oh, you guys, your food is crap.
Literally. Literally. All right. Well, are there any kinds of products or activities that is inexpensive or free that you could recommend?
Absolutely. So this idea of free medicine is one of my favorite things, and what I strive for, really, I share a lot of information on social media, but I really do strive for simplicity at the bottom line. That's my husband.
It's okay.
At the bottom, like on the ground level. And so like I'll share a whole bunch of education on like why we don't need body wash. You truly don't need body wash. Water is sufficient. But the whole idea of jumping in the shower without body wash is so foreign to people that they're like, okay, but if I do use body wash, what should I use? And I'm like, well, I recommend Alivia Skincare because it's a non-soap based wash. It uses citric acid, which is made from, they make it from their own orange peels, and sea salt and coconut oil and some really good things. So it maintains the microbiome, but that's a $25 body wash. So it's hard mentally to be like, you're asking me to spend $25 on body wash. And no. I'm asking you not to use body wash. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you need to, this is the one that I would recommend. So truly, like, I think the foundations for health would be fresh air. Have your feet touch the dry ground earth every single day. As like, watch the sunrise, watch the sunset, try to have a life that revolves around the circadian rhythms. and those things are absolutely free. And if your
Mm-hmm.
doctors are not talking to you about some of those free things, or just checking in, like, hey, are you asleep between 10 and 3 p.m.? If not, you're not getting a good REM cycle. Like, research shows now that sleep is even more important than exercise.
Hmm.
So we're hitting, like, many doctors are like, okay, are you active? But like, are you sleeping? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have community? Do you have people? Are people praying over you? Are you praying with people? Are you people actively checking in on you and your marriage and your family? Like, those are the things that are free that
Mm-hmm.
I think we're really missing on. And that's what I hope people understand more than anything, is that health does not have to be complicated. And health doesn't come in a bottle, in a syringe, in a package. Like, health is what you live and do every single day. It's those foundational things. Are you drinking enough water? And are you getting your minerals through your water? Or are you filtering out all of the minerals and depleting your body of minerals? So just some of those things.
Which are so important and so good. And I hope you all caught all the things that she said. The vitamin D when we go outside, especially now it's been even louder online, is get 15 minutes of vitamin D a day, build up your immunity. Putting your feet on the ground, going outside when you wake up to see the sunrise, sunset, to set your circadian rhythm so you can sleep. I recently learned that I was in a 2-week hormone reset. And that's one of the things that the coaches talked about, is sleep and their circadian rhythm, and the importance of seeing that it's light out and seeing that it's dark out, so that the natural light does what our body was created to do. And along those lines, I know you have been just instrumental in my girls and I, our healthcare through chiropractic care. Our 2 teenage girls came in with irregular period cycles, menstrual cycles, and now are completely regular. We're all nice to each other. Our hormones are flat most of the time. And I've just been, and they're athletic, and so they come in with volleyball stuff and running stuff and just life stuff. And your care has just been instrumental. But I love the form of care that you give, and your mindset, and the theory of what you're working with, and the type of chiropractic care you give is to set our bodies up to do what God has created them to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You hit the nail on the head, girl. I love that so much. Yes, exactly. It's that every single cell, organ, and tissue within your body depends on the optimal function of the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So your heart would not beat unless the nerve was sending a message saying, okay, you can beat now. Your muscle wouldn't twitch if it wasn't for your brain sending that message. And so my goal really is just to remove any roadblocks, traffic jams, miscommunications between your brain and your body that's preventing those messages from going where they need to go, which means it's preventing that cell, organ, or tissue from functioning the way that God created it to. So it's a very specific analysis that we use, and that means the adjustments are also very gentle, because we're dealing with the communication of the body versus a bone being out of place and us needing to put it back into place. But we can even break that down a little bit. So let's say you do have some bones out of place, and you're like, I really need a good crack in. Well, how did that bone get out of place in the first place? Like, bones don't move on their own. So maybe a muscle pulled it. Okay, let's look at the muscles. The job of the muscles are to push, pull, or protect. That's great, but muscles don't have minds of their own. They're actually quite dumb. They only do what the nerves, the brain, and the nerves tell it to do. So we choose to address the nerves first, knowing that every cell, organ, and tissue is going to function as optimally as it was created to, as the communication is doing what it needs to do, including the bones and the muscles.
I love it. So good. And that's why I found her on Google when I researched gentle Christian chiropractor. Such a gift. All right. Well, as we're kind of wrapping things up, is there a favorite verse or scripture that maybe encapsulates what you do, or just your relationship with the Lord in this space?
I really have been clinging to Romans 5:3-5 lately, and it's one that I actually really held on to during our infertility journey. But I just love that. I need that reminder of, despite what we're going through, we are still called to have hope. And that hope, because I think we live in a world that says there's no hope, right? So to to be told like, no, 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 even in the suffering, you are
Mm-hmm.
called to have hope, and that hope produces endurance, and that endurance produces character. Like just seeing, because
Mm-hmm.
so often when you're on the other side of it, of the suffering, you're like, okay, I see how that grew me just now. But when you're in it, you're like, how is this growing me?
Mm-hmm.
So just having that promise of like, this is growing me, and I should still have hope in the midst of it.
Amen. I love that. Well, I know people are going to want more. And if they're sadly not in the DFW Metroplex, they can't see you in person. You offer so many good things online, same type of training, teaching, as well as some really curated products that you've tested and put the stamp of approval on. Where can they find you online?
On Instagram, I'm at Dr. Courtney Kahla. My website is also drcourtneykahla.com. And if you're interested in this type of chiropractic care that I am sharing about, we are launching a chiropractor directory within the next 2 weeks. So we'll have a bunch of chiropractors that really practice similarly to me, and a database where you'll be able to search and find one, hopefully in your area. And then I am the owner of Our Well House, so at Our Well House on Instagram, and then ourwellhouse.com online.
Yes, y'all check it out. I can't recommend it anymore. Well, thank you, Dr. Courtney. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Tiffany.
All right, y'all, we will see you next time as we continue to help you fuel and fulfill your faith journey through the ups and the downs. See you next time. Well, friends, thank you for joining us today on All the Things TV video podcast. If you enjoyed our time together and are taking away a nugget that has inspired your soul and success, would you share this episode with a loved one who could use it too? And if you haven't already, take a moment to rate and review the podcast and help me spread soul care and dream care. Until next time, I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, a 3-time surrogate and strategizer who loves to help you birth your God-given dreams. Now go do all the things you've been called and created to do with the grace and gifts God has given you.